neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. So I had done a good bit of work on this sermon before I realized I was going entirely in the wrong direction. I was writing about how our U.S. consumer economy is built on advertising and how they make you want things that you don't even know that you want yet, and how we don't work deeply enough on our sense of enough. What's enough? How do you know if you have enough? I think that's a really good idea for a sermon, but then I went back to the text, which is what you're supposed to do if you're preaching, and I realized that this whole commandment was not just about wanting, it was about wanting stuff that belongs to somebody else. I had titled the sermon, "Want What You Have," which is ridiculous on the face of it. As soon as I saw it in the newsletter, I thought, oh, God. You know, the preachers have to come up a month ahead of time with what they're going to preach about, and sometimes you make a title and then you think, why did I say I would? Anyway, wanting what you have is a really good practice if you have enough. Wanting is how we get forward in the world. We want the graduate degree. We want this person to marry us. We want to save up for a house. There's nothing wrong with wanting, unless you're a Buddhist. Desire is the root of all suffering. But if you're willing to suffer a little, then you can want. But all of that is not this sermon, I realized. This is about wanting things that belong to other people. Now, the 21st century me gets a little cranky with this list of things you shouldn't want that belong to your neighbor. The house, okay. The wife, the manservant, the maidservant belonging to your neighbor, not cool. So in my feminist theory brain, I say, let's reverse the genders. This is how you can teach yourself a lot. Let's reverse it and say, don't want anything that belongs to your neighbor, not her husband, not her. They would never have said that because the husband doesn't belong to her. And plus, they would never even speak to the women anyway. In this time that the commandments were written, they weren't written for women. And a lot of these religions, the Abrahamic ones in particular, just don't talk to the women. I mean, you tell a martyr that you're going to get 70 virgins if they die a martyr? Come on. What are women going to do with that? I mean, even... I'm a gay woman, and it doesn't appeal to me at all. They never even think. They never... So, you're crabby already by the time you start this thing. Okay, so coveting is coveting things that belong to other people. Let's talk about that. It makes you eat your heart out because there's no amount of money you can save up to get something that already belongs to somebody else. There are no machinations that you can make that will get you something that really belongs to someone else. And so the eating your heart out makes you kind of sick, and it also sickens the relationship between you because you wish ill on that person, really, that they would, that something bad would happen to them so that you can have whatever it is that they want. And in every major world religion, and in our faith system, where we have our seventh principle that says everything is connected, we know that if we have destructive behavior, it doesn't send us to hell. It damages the fabric. It tears the fabric of connection between the person whose stuff you want and you. And I have to say that most people of my acquaintance in our movement don't really we seem to have our relationship with stuff worked out. Many of us, we don't really want the flashy cars and the flashy clothes. I mean, look at us. But we tend to tear the fabric sometimes because we are relentless self-improvers. And we look at other people and what they have and who they are, and we eat ourselves up for that sometimes. And we say, oh, they're so creative. I wish I were that creative. Or they're so brave. I wish I were that brave. Or they're so organized. I wish I were that organized. And we tear the fabric because we make ourselves miserable, which then ripples out to the people close to us, the people around us, because we're not as good as that person is. And if we want to make ourselves very, very miserable, my colleague Forrest Church, my late colleague Forrest Church said, here's a way to make yourself really, really miserable. You make a composite person of the most creative, the best family life, they're good with money, they're organized, put all that together, compare yourself to that. You can really get miserable if you want to. All the 12-step people would say you're comparing your insides to their outsides, which is a recipe for disaster and misery. There's a professor named Philip Simmons who's a UU in New Hampshire. He's got Lou Gehrig's disease, and he has written a book called Learning to Fall about the process of having Lou Gehrig's disease and learning how to die from it and live with it. And he says that when we do things that are not in alignment with the Tao, not in alignment with the way things should be, not in alignment with the river of love that runs through the center of the universe, then we damage ourselves and we damage one another. And I think, how do you know what is consonant with the Tao and what isn't? And we don't have a scripture that says, do this, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. We don't have to make up our own morality out of nothing. David Brooks has this article in the Statesman, this editorial that says humanism's going to get more, secularism's going to get more emotional because we have all this work to do, talking about morality. Number one, even St. Paul says in the letter to the Romans that the Gentiles have the law written on their hearts. You come out of your mother's womb with the law written on your heart, like you know right from wrong. Most people, except the sociopaths, that's another sermon. So you kind of know right from wrong. You don't have to figure it out from scratch and just exhaust yourself trying to figure out your morality. But sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you say, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I stay married to this person that I'm not in love with? Or should I end the marriage and go try to find better love? That's a huge question. Have I given this my all? Have I answered all my commitments? Am I loving this person to the best of my ability? Is it time for this to end? This is a question that most of us wrestle with. How do you know whether the universe, the Tao of things, cares about your marriage? Do they care, or do they care that you're loving correctly? I have my opinion, but I don't know for sure. So we have to figure things out, and we have to ask ourselves, what is consonant with the way things are, and how do we behave correctly in the larger universe so as to strengthen the fabric of connection among us. Let's see. I'm way beyond that. Here we go. All right. So, what Simmons recommends, I love. And he says this: we do not heal ourselves by scourging or rejecting our sinful parts, but by drawing them into a circle of holiness made large enough to include them. There's nothing our demons enjoy more than a good fight. Nothing that confuses them more than our embrace. Our goal always is to transform evil through love. All right, so laying aside the semantic, I've got a problem with the word evil, I've got a problem with the word sin, I'm sure some of y'all do too. But if you talk about destructive behavior and whatever you understand as your demons, if you are coveting something someone has, how do you take that coveting, that thing that's kind of eating you up inside, and how do you bring it in an embrace? Well, there is a wonderful spiritual teacher and writing teacher named Julia Cameron, and she has a book called The Artist's Way, and in it, she recommends listing your jealousies. A lot of times artists have this, but other people have this too. You look at somebody doing something and you go, I should be doing that. Why are they doing that and I'm not doing that? She says, this is good. Don't try to squelch that. Simmons says, don't try to scourge that. Bring it in. How do you embrace that? Well, you say, I'm jealous of this person that has a great blog and they get great comments on their blog. I'm jealous. I hate reading her blog because she gets such good comments. All right, so Julia Cameron says, write down the name of the person, what you're jealous of. She gets good comments. What do you need to do in order to bring that into your life? This is a jealousy map. It's showing you what you need to bring in next. So, do you need good comments on your blog? Another of my spiritual teachers is named Martha Beck, and she would say, let's go deeper with this. You need good comments on your blog. Really? Is that what you really need? What would happen? Let's ask ourselves. So I get good comments on my blog. Then what? Why do I want those? You think, well, then I would feel confident. Then I would feel like I knew what I was doing, that I was doing the right thing. And then Beck would say, can you figure out a way to feel confident? Because that's what you really want. You don't really want the more comments. That's just the middle person. You want to be able to feel validated and confident. How do you do that? Or you go, I really want to, I would say, I really want to be more organized. I don't say that anymore, but I used to. And I think, okay, Martha Beck, why do I want to be more organized? Well, so that I waste less time scrambling around for information and for things and looking for my keys and whatever. And I think, is there a way to have organization in my life without being more organized? And I think, yes, there is. I ask a person who is organized to help me. I bring in a helper who is organized. And then I don't have to get more organized because I can't, basically. I'm at peace with that now. And sometimes it happens by accident. I get organized. I think, I am too lazy to look for my keys anymore, so I always put them in the same place. But that just kind of happened by accident. I love changing by accident because it doesn't take any effort. And changing with effort is hard. So how do we take our demons of coveting, what other people have and who other people are, and how do we embrace them? How do we invite them into the holy circle? I'd say we do our best to be the best people we can be. We ground ourselves. We do whatever spiritual practice calls to us, gratitude or meditation or beauty or art or hiking or sailing. We do the spiritual practice that calls to us. We love what we have. We treasure what and who we have. We treasure what and who we are. And we use our coveting demons to show us where we need to go next. Turn their energy toward the good. Keep them confused. May it be so.